So right now it is 7:42 a.m. Jonathan just left for work, and usually around this time is when I wake up anyway. When he leaves for work is when I kick my morning routine into gear. First things first. Usually when I wake up in the morning, I have a bottle of water. There was a period of time in my life where I was really bad at drinking water. I never drink water. I only drink carbonated drinks or like sugary drinks. And so it was really hard for me to slowly build a habit and get into the habit of drinking water. So one way I've been trying to implement it is to just drink it right when I wake up in the morning, take a couple sips, and then just go about the rest of my day. So first things first, I usually prep everything that I need to do the night before, and I can make a nightly routine video for you guys if you want. The next step that I usually do after I've had a couple sips of water is I hop into the shower. Hey guys, so it is 7:57 as you can see. Well, you can't see, but it's nearly 8 a.m. I just finished taking a shower, and so now my next thing that I do is I do EFT tapping for 5 to 10 minutes. And if you don't know what EFT tapping is when you go and sit down and you tap certain points throughout your body. They're called meridian points, where it's said that the flow of energy moves through. And so sometimes when you have certain like energy, whether it's like negative emotions or negative thoughts, like these energies can get trapped. And so tapping the certain points throughout your body can disrupt the flow of energy where it could be trapped. And so usually when you're doing this, it's a way of doing affirmations where you affirm certain beliefs to yourself. And so with EFT tapping, I incorporate it into my morning routines to improve and work on my mindset. So usually before I jump into the tapping, I wait for the kettle to boil, brew, whatever you want to call it, the hot water. And then I put the water in the French press and let the coffee brew. And then while the coffee brews is when I do EFT tapping. So now I'm just waiting for it to boil. So I just finished EFT tapping. Yeah, the affirmation that I am affirming to myself is I am calm and peaceful. I am able to observe the thoughts and emotions rather than habitually reacting to them. And so that's been something that I've been incorporating into my morning routine. As far as morning routine goes, it's important to think about why you even have morning routines. The way that I think about it, it's like your morning routine is you setting the motion for the rest of your day. The analogy that I like to use is like, you know, when you mow the lawn, right? And you like pull the string to like get the lawnmower going. And when you don't mow the lawn as often, it takes a couple tries, right? But then the more you do it, the more fluid the movement of pulling the string goes. And so it's kind of like that. That's how I view your morning routine. What you do in your morning routine just really depends on what your goals are for yourself, because I don't think there is an ideal morning routine. I try not to follow what other people are doing. I just usually think about what it is that I'm hoping to get out of my morning routine. My morning routine is time for myself, and since I'm a busy entrepreneur, very early in the beginning stages of my business and getting that off the ground with coaching, a lot of the things that I do in my morning routine are habits that I want to build for myself to set myself up for the future. And so I make sure to incorporate mindful practices to nourish my mind, because at the beginning of the pandemic, I took this course is called Brain Quest. So it's a 30-day Brain Quest course by Jim Quick, which is this guy who's on Mind Valley, the Asian dude who's this really big brain coach because he had a traumatic brain injury and he had issues or troubles learning growing up. And so he was able to overcome that, and now he teaches people on a national scale how to develop practices and habits for yourself to train your brain. And if something that you do is good for your brain, then it's good for your mind. And if it's good for your mind, then it's good for your mental health. So EFT is one way of doing that, because with EFT tapping, I know it looks very silly just doing it, and it looks stupid, especially if you're starting it out for the first time. You're gonna tell yourself, this is stupid, I look dumb, this isn't gonna work. But I can tell you right now that it does work, because the reason why I do EFT tapping is so that I can reprogram my subconscious mind for success. Because the way that we view ourselves and the way that we view the world, our body and mind has a strong desire to act out in ways that are congruent to that. And so we validate our beliefs through our actions and our behaviors. As I continue to move forward, there's just been this one thing that's been coming up a lot, and this habit that's been coming up a lot in my mind. And so it's something that I want to work on, because it's been blocking me from moving forward. But with that being said, now my next steps are to go and make the bed. And then also another thing, I'm really big on, just doing to-do lists. So I'm gonna tap EFT off, and then I also, let me see if I can create like a screen share for you guys. Another thing I do is I'm also in the process of building habits, and so I have this app, and in the mornings I do EFT tapping. So I click that. Well, I did EFT tapping starting in October, and I've been really good and consistent with it. And now I am doing a new affirmation. And I do new affirmations every month, so I can build one set of beliefs on top of the other. But yeah, so that's one way of tracking your habits, and it's a good way to motivate yourself to push forward, because then it provides a sense of accomplishment and relief, and just even for doing it for like 5 to 10 minutes. But yeah, so Productive, there's a premium version and a free version. I do the paid version because I think it's like $30 for a year. But yeah, and I also have other habits that I do as well, but that could be a video for another day. So yeah, now let's go make the bed. Voila! Bed is made. I didn't actually get into the habit of making my bed until I would say maybe 2 years ago. Honestly, there's a video that I made about decluttering, and I think that was a video that kickstarted my personal development journey. And when you're thinking about your personal development, you're thinking about reinventing yourself, right? And when you're reinventing yourself, you're creating a new identity for yourself. And when you're creating a new identity for yourself, you have to think about how you will embody your identity. And so your habits is how you embody your identity, because how you do one thing is how you do everything. The first place that I got started was getting into the habit of making my bed. And I think it took me about a month of doing that consistently for the habit to actually stick. I would say I make my bed 90% of the time. There are some weekends where I'm like, fuck it. I don't need to be perfect. I could just leave it. I can honestly say to you guys, making your bed, it does something to your mind, bro. You can tell the difference. So if you go into your room and you see that a bed is made, I don't know, it just it gives you a peace of mind. Because I was actually learning about this the other day, that when you think about stress, right, stress presents itself in many different forms, and clutter is a form of environmental stress, and it's a form of visual stress. Because when you think about it, your brain is taking in information from your environment every single moment, every single day, on a conscious level and on a subconscious level. And it does that by perceiving through all of your senses. So your sense of smell, taste, sight, whatever. But your strongest sense is your sight. And so when you think about stress, right, and going back to clutter, having a cluttered place in a cluttered home where it's really messy, things are not tidied up, it's stressful to the brain. And so yeah, just having the bed made, it does something to your mind. And another thing I do want to mention, just an extra tip, this is a heated blanket. This is the plug right here. You're able to control the temperature, and you plug it at the end of your bed like this. And This is really great for, you know, the nights because it can get expensive, you know, using heat, turning the heat on. And so this is one way to save money, but you can control the temperature. And I think I got this at Target for like 30 bucks and it's definitely worth it. So that's one thing right there for you guys. If you want to find a way to keep your house warm, especially during the winters, then invest in a heated blanket because you'll save a lot more money. Alright, so I just finished getting ready for the day, just put on my makeup, got dressed. I'm in just sweats and just a long sleeve because I'm going to be working out later. Yeah, so now that that's done, what I usually do next is move into making breakfast for myself. And before I do that, I usually just set up the house with the essential oil diffuser. I put in peppermint because usually after breakfast is when I start listening to my audio book. And I'm currently reading Atomic Habits right now. And every time I'm like doing future self journaling or like, you know, anything learning or anything where I'm writing stuff down, I usually put on essential oil diffusers, and like I said, I use peppermint. And the reason being is because when you think about your mindfulness practices and you think about engaging in self-care practices that are good for your mental health, good for having a healthy mind, then you have to think about your environment. You have to design your environment so that it supports those habits. And so I don't know if you guys know this, but your brain mentally assigns or mentally connects the habits that you have and engage in to the locations at which they occur. And so with the environment, you have to think about where you're doing it, but also engaging other senses as well. So if I'm going to be taking notes, listening to audiobooks, writing in my journal, and I have the scent of peppermint going in the back, that is another cue, and it adds context to the environment, which supports the mindfulness practices that I do. I hope that makes sense. Once I get those going, that's when I'll be making breakfast for myself. And so let's just jump right into that. Okay, so it is currently 10:54 a.m. So for breakfast, I had myself some whole wheat bread, toasted that, and then I have this chocolate butter or nuts bread that I put on the toast. And then I don't usually do this, but I decided to just add raspberries to it to see how it tastes. It actually tasted pretty good. While I was doing that, I had a friend call me. It was supposed to be for 10 minutes, but she ended up being very distressed because she got a lot going on. And so it ended up being like a 1.5-hour conversation where, you know, she's just expressing to me, you know, some of the things that she's currently going through, some of the things that she's currently dealing with. And then somehow it ended up turning into a coaching session where we finished up the conversation with a plan of action that she can commit to for the next week. And so yeah, so that's currently what happened. Usually that wouldn't happen during my morning routine, and usually I don't jump into work until like 10 a.m. And so I'm a little bit behind on schedule, which is fine. The next thing I need to do for myself is to listen to an audiobook for 15 minutes and take notes. Right now, I'm currently reading Atomic Habits, and it's been great. I'm learning a lot, and this will be a good way for me to actively learn. So I'm listening for 15 minutes and taking notes. And the reason why I am incorporating this practice into my morning routine is because novelty and new learning is so good for the brain. You're also changing the structure of your brain. If you're unfamiliar, look into neuroplasticity and neurogenesis, because anytime you're learning something new, you're creating new pathways and new connections and new associations in your brain and in your mind. And Atomic Habit is what I'm reading, and it's actually something that's very applicable because I'm applying the knowledge of what I'm learning into my coaching practice. And when I am coaching people, I'm able to educate them on that. And so So yeah, let me just take you guys through on where that looks like. So I have this setup right here. This is the setup for the audiobook. So I'm going to be listening to 10 minutes and then I write up questions that I have for myself and then just take notes on important things that are there. So just to get some B-roll going, I'm going to film a little bit of that and then I'll keep you guys updated on any insights that come up. I just finished taking notes. Let me just fill you guys in on what I got here. So the way that I take notes is the 15-minute timer just went up. And so this is just what I've covered so far. And usually when I'm taking notes, I also have questions that I'm asking because then these are questions that I'm going to have to turn back to later to actually answer them myself. The next thing I do is I look at the questions that I have and I jog it in my phone, and it's called implementation day where I have questions. And so the next question that I'm going to be filling out is, what is the 2-day rule? This is through an app called Google Keep. So I'm using an app called Google Keep. The first question I'm asking myself is, what is the 2-day rule? Yeah, so that is the other part of my morning routine. And then what I do next is I quiz myself for 5 minutes. After that is when I get into future self journaling. I'm just gonna go ahead and do this, and then once I'm done with that, I will go into future self journaling, and then I'll talk more about that with you guys. So okay, so I actually just finished doing the active retrieval for the book that I'm reading, and so on to the next part of my morning routine is this thing that I'm currently building the habit of, and I actually just started it, but it's something called future self-journaling. You are showing up every day and putting in the commitment to becoming a newer version of yourself, and when you think about the newer version of yourself, you're thinking about the habits, and so this is a one way where I'm learning to overcome a new habit. And every time you're doing this, and the more that you do this and the more practice and repetition that you put in, the more that you are building a new habit. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to fill it out, and then once I'm done, I'll just walk you guys through what I wrote down and why I decided to write down everything that I wrote down. So I just finished the day 5 entry for future self journaling, and so I just kind of want to walk you guys through what I wrote down. So my affirmation is, I am calm and at peace. I'm able to observe my thoughts and emotions rather than habitually reacting to them. And so that's what I've been saying to myself every morning with EFT, because I want to develop habits in the morning that all work harmoniously with each other towards a common goal. And so that's the current habit that I'm trying to build for myself. And then today I'm practicing using my breath to regulate my feelings. I am grateful for another opportunity to practice a new way to regulate my feelings. Change in this area will allow me to feel more in control of my responses to my feelings. Today, I'm practicing when I use the 90-second rule and deep belly breaths to calm my feelings. And then what is the 90-second rule? So it's, what am I doing? What am I feeling? And what am I thinking? So let me just walk you guys into like a little bit deeper insight into what the 90-second rule is all about. So the way that it works with your emotions is that sometimes you have a thought consciously, subconsciously, and then that thought activates an emotion. Whenever that does activate an emotion, you react to it habitually. Sometimes you might run from it, you might suppress it, and you might do that through emotional eating or scrolling through social media, whatever, but you're doing it so that you avoid yourself from having to feel that emotion. An emotion typically in the body lasts about 90 seconds. That's where I created a 90-second rule, is for me, especially with this pattern that I'm trying to break out of, is habitually reacting to fearful thoughts and emotions that I've been dealing with for a very long time. And so this is something that I'm applying to myself to see if it works. With that, I'm doing the 90-second rules. When I do catch myself engaging habitually and reacting to fearful thoughts and emotions that come up in my mind, I stop, I take a couple of deep breaths, and I pause, and I give myself 90 seconds to just work through it, and I ask myself, what am I doing? And the answer will always be, I am habitually reacting to fearful thoughts and emotions. The next question I ask ask myself is, what am I feeling? And in that time, I might be feeling fear, like fear of losing someone, or fear of this happening, fear of this, anything. And then what am I thinking? It's like the thoughts that are currently going through my mind. And in doing this practice and in doing this exercise, it's a good way for you to become aware of the thoughts that come up in your mind. And it's also a good way for you to neutralize it, because then not only are you neutralizing it, but when you are observing your thoughts from a neutral standpoint, you're no longer feeding into the negativity of it, you're just allowing it to be there. And this is something that I've been struggling with for a while, because I've been engaging in the habit of like reacting to it, suppressing it. And so this is all new to me as well, and it's only been 5 days, and I can be honest with you, just after 5 days and repeating the affirmations to myself, it's been helping. Particularly just being specific about like having negative thoughts. What I've learned is that anxiety presents itself in many different forms, and it's in the form of a thought, right? Because anxiety is fear, and it comes out in very subtle ways. And so, the anxious thoughts, the fearful thoughts is not the problem. It's what you do with it. So with that being said, the last thing that I need to do in my morning routine is I meditate. And let me just talk about why I meditate. So the reason why I meditate is because we've all know by now how good it is for you, but it's one way for me to relieve stress. Because when you think about meditation, not only does it relieve stress, but it also improves the quality of your sleep. And stress and sleep quality is so important to your mental health, because when you're in a state of stress, then everything goes downhill. So that's the reason why I meditate. And also when you're meditating, you are shifting the state of your mind from fight or flight mode to rest and digest. And rest and digest is a state of mind where you're more calm, you're not in a constant state of worry, you're more relaxed. And I think that's so important, especially as a very busy entrepreneur, where you're having to worry about so many things and doing so many things, especially as a coach. And so I found that having a meditation practice is so beneficial to my mental health. And essentially that's what this is all about, right? I'm gonna set down the camera somewhere for me to film myself meditating for 10 minutes. That's how long I usually do it for. I just finished. Right now I'm feeling pretty good and relaxed and rejuvenated and ready to hop into the swing of things with work. Right now it is 11:50. I am running behind on schedule. Typically, my morning routine lasts about 2 hours long. It starts from 8 a.m. and then ends around 10 to 10:30. But with the unexpected call from my friend and all of that, it pushed things back for me. But that's just life. And one thing that I do want to just say before I end this vlog is that when it comes to morning routines, you have to be clear, get clear on why you're doing it in the first place. Once you've gotten that done, then you have to think about the purpose of your morning routine and what it does for you. Is your morning routine for spiritual success? Are you creating a morning routine to maximize your performance at work? If you are like me, are you creating a morning routine that supports your mental health and mental well-being? You have to think about how you can embody holistic living and how you can create a lifestyle for yourself where you are developing the habits and practices for yourself. And so that's pretty much why I do all the things that I do this morning, and all of it serves a purpose. So my camera literally just died from overheating because I've been using it all morning. And I hope that just taking you guys through my morning routine have gotten you guys to think about some of the ways that you can incorporate self-care practices that are good for your mental health and your well-being. If that's your goal, I hope this helps. And yeah, I guess that is it. That is all that I have for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed today's vlog. With all that being said, I will see you guys in the next video. Peace, much love, and many blessings to you.